So today's opener is just going to be a review of converting. It's going to be a review of percent increase, decrease, and percent change. The last word problem is going to be similar to what you guys are going to be working on Khan Academy as well. So the first three questions, it says convert each of the following. The first one is we're going to convert 96% to a fraction. So we're changing a percent to a fraction. Raise your hand if you can tell me how to change a percent to a fraction. Deja? You're going to have to do some division. You're right on that part. But it's a little more specific. So if you don't remember the exact steps, I recommend looking at your converting fractions, decimals, and percent notes. That will tell you exactly what to do. Good. So as Alex said, you're basically going to take your percent, drop the percent sign, and make that a numerator. Percent means out of 100. So of 100, so out of 100 means divide by 100. So our denominator is going to be 100. So now we have 96 over 100, but we're never finished with fractions till they're in simplest form. So what's 96 over 100 in simplest form going to be? Deja? Take a second, right around. What? 24 over 25. Good. And box it. All right, the next one, number 2. So at this time, I should see everybody with their binders open, their notes out, their calculators out. This next one, number 2, I have a decimal, and they want me to convert this decimal to a fraction. Mackenzie, how can I convert a decimal to a fraction? What's the way I can convert a decimal to a fraction? Okay, so right there, we're going to determine the place value of the last digit. What's my last digit here? And what place value is that in? Well, remember how we can either look at our place value chart in our notes to determine it, or we can put a 1 in our 1 spot and then put in zeros in the rest, and that'll also give me the place value. So what's the place value of the last digit here? Yeah, what is that word?
I said it, thousands.
Oh, thousands. So 1,000 or thousands. And then our numerator is basically this number here without the decimal point, which means it'll be what? 125. And as we said earlier, we're not done with fractions until we simplify it. So 125 over 1,000, good morning, are both divisible by what number? By what? Yeah, by 5, because they both end in a 0 or a 5. They're also divisible by 25, or you can also cheat and just use your calculators and type 125, fraction button, 1,000. And when you do that, what does it give you as our answer in simplest form?
1 over 8.
Perfect. Y'all get that?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3 says convert this fraction to a decimal. Now, in parentheses underneath it, it tells us to round to the nearest thousand. So we might have to round if necessary. How many places past the decimal is a thousand spot? 3. Good. So how do I change a fraction to a decimal? Say it again. No. There you go. So we're going to take the numerator and divide it by the denominator. So we're going to take 5 and we're going to divide it by 11 and get a long number. Who did that in their calculator for me? Some of you guys don't have your calculators out yet.
I got mine out.
So when you do that, you're going to get... Right? And it just repeats and repeats and repeats. So what is it called when a number repeats over and over again, or a series of number repeats over and over again? So you see how this series of numbers repeat over and over again? What's that called? A repeating decimal. Now, you can show a repeating decimal by doing this, by drawing a line over it. That line over it means that number 4 and 5 are both repeating. However, our notes or our directions say round it to the nearest thousand. You guys already told me the thousand spot is 3 places past the decimal. So what number is in my thousandths place?
It'd be 4 or 5.
It'd be the 4. Everything behind that, I'm going to drop. However, I still have to determine if this 4 in the thousandth spot is going to stay the same or if it's going to go up 1 based on the number directly behind it.
Go up one.
It's going to go up 1 because it's a 5 or greater. So my final answer is going to be what here, you guys?
0.455.
Perfect. And box it. Okay. So then the next problem that you guys are going to have is going to be the notes from last week or the notes from this week. You guys are going to have to determine which notes you're going to use. So let's take a look at number 4. Okay, so it says, if a video game normally costs $39, but it's on sale for 30% off, how much will you pay if the tax is 9.1%? So which set of notes am I going to use for this?
And the percent increase, decrease.
Absolutely. So the note sheet that I'm going to use to answer this question is the percent increase, decrease notes. So it's the stuff that we did last week.
Start at 100.
So we're going to start at 100%. Before we do that, though, I want to identify my percent changes here, or what percents are we're talking about. So what's my first percent I'm looking at? 30% off. Is that going to be an increase or a decrease? Decrease, because you're talking about 30% off. Then what's my next percent? Tax at 9.1. Is that going to be an increase in price or a decrease in price? Increase. Okay, so how many multipliers am I going to have here? 2. And as Deja said, step 1 tells us to start at 100%. Step 2, we're going to add or subtract my first percent.
And subtract
It is. It's for sale.
30.
It's going to be subtract 30%.
Equal 70%.
Okay, so this is still step 2 because we went ahead and subtracted it. Now step 3, a lot of you guys on your quizzes and on your homework assignments are forgetting to do step 3. What does step 3 say you need to do? Yeah. Yeah, change that percent to a decimal. And we do that by dividing it by 100. So what's 70% divided by 100? What's 70 divided by 100?
0.7.
0.7. Okay, so step 1 through 3 is done. Step 4, Jaden, what do I need to do? Oh, shoot. I'm not ready for step 4, am I? Before I can do step 4, what do I have to do? I gotta go back through it, right, Mackenzie? So, what do I do, Mackenzie? I know, I'm gonna pick on you now. What do I do? You know what to do. So we're gonna start at 100%. Good. And then add or subtract my percent. Add what? Which equals? Percent. Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3, change it to a decimal. I do that by dividing by 100. What's that equal when you divide it by 100? Did you get that down on your paper yet? Okay, I'm going to circle that. That's my second multiplier. I'm going to use all of those numbers. I'm not going to round my multiplier. I will round my total amount if it goes past the nearest cent or the hundredth place value if needed. Okay, now I've gotten both my multipliers. I found both of my percents. So now for real, I'm ready for step 4. Jaden, I'm coming back to you because I really wanted to hear your voice today. So what's my step 4 going to be? What's the last step going to be for this problem? So I'm going to take my original amount of the video game, which is $39. What does that mean, 0.7? What do I do with that? Do I write it just like that? Put parentheses around it? Then what? What do I do with that? Okay? And what do I do with these 3 numbers? Try again. What's opposite of divide? Yeah, you're going to multiply these 3 numbers together to get the new amount of the video game with the discount and the price that it's being taxed at. So, in your calculators, you should be taking 39.7 times 1.091. Jaden, when you multiply those 3 numbers together using your calculator, what do you get? Try again. Get clear. Get clear. 39 times. Okay, so what do you get? So Jaden got 29. Oops, it's a glare. 0.7843. Now I'm dealing with money here. So if I'm dealing with money, it's not going to be $29.7843. So I'm going to have to round it to the nearest cent. Which number is in my nearest cent or hundredths place?
8.
The 8. So I'm going to underline that, cross out the rest, but I'm going to have to look directly to the right of the 8. Is this number 5 or greater?
No.
No. So what happens to this 8?
8.
Stays the same. So the price of that video game is going to be $29.78. Make sure you have your dollar sign. Make sure you box it. Okay. Flip it over. 3 more to go.
Ooh, let me answer that.
All right. Okay. So number 5, it says determine the percent change 90 to 71, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So Kaylin, first thing I want to ask you, what notes are you going to use to help you answer this if you don't know how to solve it? Your percent change notes. When we do our percent change notes, there's a certain formula that we follow, correct?
Sure.
What's the formula I'm going to use in order to solve this?
You go divide, then multiply.
Read me the formula.
I gotta get it down. Start with 100%.
Nope, that's percent increase, decrease. You said use percent change notes.
Change percent equal new minus old divided by old times 100%.
Good. What did I keep messing up with on Tuesday, you guys?
You wrote the wrong way.
Oh my God. Do you guys realize I did it not once but twice? So I did it on example number 3, but I also did it on example number 2, which Kiara pulled me aside and showed me, and I'm like, oh, I'll go back to it. I was in my next hour class, and I'm like, oh my God. I know what she's talking about. That's right. And I think when Michael kept asking the question, he wasn't verbalizing it how I needed to understand it. He was saying the same thing. Gosh darn it. So, okay, sidetrack. Here we go. So, first thing we have to identify, what's our original or our old number? So, out of 1971, Kaylon, what's my original or old number?
90.
Okay. So, I'm going to put an O above that. What's my new number?
The 71.
The 71. So I want you guys to look. If I'm going from a bigger number to a smaller number, you should automatically be able to tell me, is that going to be an increase or a decrease in percent?
Decrease.
Yeah, so it's going to be a decrease. So what kind of answer are we going to get? A negative. All right, so now we're just going to substitute our numbers here. So I already have my percent change in front of my formula, you don't have to write this part here, but you do need to make sure you have percent change. So percent change equals, what's my new number, Kaylon?
90.
What's-
100.
What's my new number, Kaylon?
Wait, what are you talking about? 71.
Minus, I'm just following the formula you told me. What's my old number?
90.
Divided by my old number
Divided by 90
times
times 100. Then once you do
100%.
Yeah, times 100%.
Okay.
Then once you do all that, your total will come out to be 21.11111.
Do you guys all agree with them? Now, remember, when we do these type of problems and you type it into your calculator, you can't just type it all into your calculator at once. You're going to have to type in 71 minus 90 equals, divided by 90 equals, times 100% or times 100 equals. When you do that, you're going to get what Kaylon said, except for he forgot to say one thing. It's 21.111 repeating, but what kind of 21 is that?
Percent.
Nah, you're right.
Negative.
Negative.
Oh.
So negative 21.1111. It's repeating.
So that means you have to be only one.
Say that again, Mike.
It only has to be only one.
Past the decimal. So is this one going to round up or stay the same?
Stay the same.
So my final answer is
21. Negative 21.
Already knew that.
and I'm talking about percent change. I heard somebody say it. Percent and box it. So when you guys take the quiz over this tomorrow, I'm going to be looking to see this, and this. Okay? You don't have to write the squiggled stuff. You don't have to write the formula. I just wrote the formula out as my visual reminder of like it's the old number that goes on the bottom. Okay, number 6. If a stock cost $32.14 last year and cost $38.85 this year, what is the percent change? So what question are they asking me?
My dog's
AJ?
jacket.
So they're asking, what is the percent change? So right there it tells me what notes am I going to use? Percent change, okay? So when we're doing percent change, the first thing we need to do is identify our old number and our new number. So what's my old number? The first one, yeah, because it's saying it was $32 last year. And now it's $38, so that's going to be our new number. So because we're doing percent change, we're using the same formula as what we did up here. It's just written in as a word problem this time. Instead of just giving you numbers, it's written as a word problem. So we're using the same formula, so we're still finding the percent change. So we want to know the percent change of that stock. Looking at it, if we're going from a smaller number to a bigger number, is that percent change going to be an increase or a decrease? So we know it's going to be an increase, so it's going to be a positive answer. Okay, so looking at my formula, what number do I substitute for new?
$38.85.
Okay, my formula says I'm going to subtract the old number from that. What's my old number?
$32.14.
And I'm going to divide that by my old number, which is?
$32.14.
I'm going to multiply that by?
You have to multiply it by. Hang on. You have to multiply it by the old number.
No. You have it. You have it written down. By
100%.
There you go. All right.
You have to write it because I've been in tutorials.
You did your part, huh? So, in your calculator, 38.85 minus 32.14 equals divided by 32.14 times 100. When you do that, something happened. Yeah, we messed up. When you do that, what do you get? A long number? What's the long number you get?
20.87741.
Okay, now our directions tell us we're going to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. What number's in my tenth spot? 8. Everything else I'm going to drop. I'm going to use the number directly to the right of the 8. Is this number 5 or greater? Good. So my answer is going to be 20.9. I'm missing 3 things here. Percent is one of them. No, we're not talking about dollars because we're talking about percent change. One's like a basic thing that I always want to see. A box. And when I'm talking about percent change, I want you guys to tell me if it's going to be a percent increase or a percent decrease. That plus. Good. Nice. Okay. Once you have that down, flip it over to the back. Well, I'm going to flip it over to the back, and you guys are going to do the last one, and then we'll be done, right?
7.
Number 7.
Hold on. Oh my God.
Just draw an arrow. Just draw an arrow. It's all right. Just draw arrows.
Arrows? Okay.
No, not you.
No.
Okay. These types of problems are probably my favorite. This is what we're going to kind of get into a little bit more with our Khan Academy notes on Monday. But we're going to go ahead and try this. How many of you guys have heard of a proportion?
I believe I did. I believe I heard about it once.
Can anybody tell me what a proportion is?
It's about
It's made up of a ratio. Does anybody know what a ratio is? Can, what?
don't remember.
Can anybody explain to me what a ratio is, or
It's
give
like
me an
3 out
example?
of 5, like a rating or something.
Kinda. A 3 out of 5. It's a rating, and when you rate things, you compare things, right?
Hey, can I draw it on the board?
So a
Because-
ratio, in just a minute. So a ratio compares 2 things. So like a ratio would be girls to guys, students to teachers, blonde hair to dark hair. How many shots do you make? So yeah. So what would the ratio of that be? Shaded to not shaded.
2 to 1.
Okay. So a ratio is a comparison of 2 things. So if you're looking here, you're playing cards, and 3 out of the 5 of your cards in your hand are red. What percent of the cards are red? So we're trying to find the percent of cards that you have. So we're going to make a proportion with this information. So what that means, the proportion that we're going to use is going to be percent, and percent's always out of what, guys? Out of 100, as Alex told us earlier. And then the other part of our ratio is going to be the partial number, and the bottom is going to be our whole number. Okay? So, how many of you guys like word problems? Oh man, word problems and I are not friends, so I'm glad some of you guys like them. Okay, so what we need to pick out is what we know. What do we know?
3 out of 5 cards are red.
Okay, so we know 3 out of 5 cards are red. So right here we have 2 numbers, right? What would the 3 represent in this proportion I have?
Part.
Yeah, that would be my part. So what's my whole? What's my total number of cards? What's the total number of cards I have? 5. Okay? So my percent, the bottom of my percent's always going to be 100. So what information do I not know? What am I missing?
The percentage.
The percent. And that's what it's asking. What percent of the cards are red? So that's what we're trying to find. The percent of the cards that are red. Alex, set up, please. Up, 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 up. So if we're trying to find what percent of the cards are red, you guys remember how to cross multiply? No. Who can tell me how to cross multiply? Kelly? So we're going to go from the top times the bottom. So what's P times 5? 5P equals, then I'm going to multiply my 100 times 3. So I'm crossing it. What's 100 times 3? 300. What kind of problem do I have now? 5P equals 300. Don't you shrug your shoulders at me. It's everything that we worked on first semester.
First semester.
You better. We worked on them all semester long.
Wait, we worked on it all semester.
All semester long. Kelly.
I forgot what it's called, but I
I'm gonna draw my line.
Oh.
Now what? Circle my variable. Now what kind of problem do I have? Solving
Man, what?
one-step equations. That's right.
I was a lower.
So we need to solve for P. So we need to solve for the percent, right?
-5.
No, not -5, because when a number touches a variable, it means to multiply. So we're going to divide by 5. Whatever I do to one side, I do to another. Cancel. P equals, so on my right side, what's 300 divided by 5? 60. And it's asking for the what? So it should be 60%.